5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
This is the Culture Clash.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of Culture Clash here on the Fandom Podcast Network. A big thank you to all you listeners out there joining us for our special Culture Clash Pop Culture Holiday Catch-Up. Kevin and I, we get busy with the holidays, with other shows. Every once in a while, we need to do a little bit of catch-up on what's going out there. Also, too, if I sound a little funny, I am fighting a head cold from hell, but I'm being a trooper because I love our listeners. It's just that the inside of my nose could be used as special effects for Ghostbusters. And if a facebuster pops out of my sinuses during the sinus cavity during the show, it's going to make for a spectacular thing. But I do have somebody on the standby to help me out and make sure I survive this experience. He is my brother from another mother. He is the top elf in Santa's workshop. He is Mr. Kevin Reitzel.
So what you're saying is you will produce possibly your own Slimer?
Oh, there's slime time going on. I'm just telling you right now.
What's up, man? I hope you feel better. If you drop down,
I just went on a little vacation, went up to the mountains, came down, little head cold from temperature change and altitude and all that. So, yeah, it's always fun. But
shout out to Chris,
good.
already in the room. What's up, buddy? Ghostbusters.
What's up? Little Ghostbusters quick response unit. You can give me a proton pack to help me out there. Yeah, I don't know if you want to cover me for this particular ectoplasmic.
Don't worry, Kyle. I got you covered for ectoplasmic misadventures. Well said, Chris.
If you can find a ghost that might freeze everything, that might help because at least then it's not flowing. But before I gross everybody out, let's get on with the episode because we got a lot to talk about, Kevin. Of course, we have to do these every once in a while because we get tied up with the shows and everything going on. But it's time for a little pop culture catch up here on the Culture Clash. Oh, yeah,
I got some stuff, Kyle. I want to talk about it.
Kevin has physical media, which means it's time for physical media with Kevin, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have a more in-depth discussion about this later, but I know that two big things came out on physical media today that our friends in Australia will never, ever see.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so this week, The Mandalorian Season 1 and Season 2 dropped at your local physical media stores, if you can find them. I saw them at Best Buy, and I didn't see them at my Target because my Target sucks, but these are Steelbook 4K editions here. There's also regular Blu-ray, because I almost bought those by mistake, but I wanted the 4K ones there. And I actually popped in and watched the first episode of Season 1 of The Mandalorian, and it's really cool because you got this little slip cover here that goes over here, but look at that nice steel book there, and there is 2 discs on the inside. If you look closely, you see a little silhouette of the Mandalorian and a little silhouette of Baby Yoda, aka the child, aka Grogu, and then you get these cool little art postcards here. I just want to share these real quick. You got these 3 here. Oh, look how cute. Yep. And then real quick in Season 2, you also get, I love this cover too. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Right there. In Season 2, you also get these 3 art cards. Of course, you get the back of Mr. Boba Fett himself, Mando, and Grogu getting eaten or eating. So there you go. The quality on this is amazing. You get a couple little special feature editions on the second disc, interviews, I guess, like that. I didn't look at the special features on the second one yet because I literally just got these, but I did it on the first one. They talk about the Empire and where it's at, and then conceptual and stuff like that. So just really nice to officially have these on a physical media, even though I already have them in other forms of physical media. If you catch,
Yep. Kevin, is it safe to assume those will be in your doomsday bunker?
Yes, they will.
We'll explain later, ladies and gentlemen. But before we go any farther, we must talk about things that are coming up on the Fandom Podcast Network. Mr. Reitzel, would you care to preview or tell people what's out there and what's coming?
Yeah, so we love celebrating anniversaries of our favorite films here, and in Couch Potato Theater, we love to do that. And this is the 30th anniversary of Demolition Man. It is out right now on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel, also on fpnet.podbean.com for the audio version of this. But make sure you check out the video on this channel now, because there's a lot of really cool slides and two things that we had fun covering in this with you, Kyle, and also our good friend, Mr. Lethal Mullet himself, Adam O'Brien, was we talked about the 3 seashells and the whole history of that, how it came about, and we answered some questions. Some questions were left up in the air, but we also talked about like the predictions that this movie made back in 1983 that came true, the things that it started before, other stuff. And so we had a lot of fun talking about that.
Well, there's rumors that the Lethal Mullet is on the injured reserve list because he tried the physical instructions for the 3 seashells and it went wrong.
Yeah. You got to really be careful on what directions you follow online.
Yeah, without a doubt. But we've got some other stuff coming up too, Mr. Wright, or that's out too, including wrapping up the year of 1983 for Time Warp, Kevin.
Yeah, this was a big year for movies for 83, and we covered the movies of December, and there's some good movies that came out, but we also covered the awards for the Academy Awards that were honoring the movies from 83, and also the Razzies, and that was a fun discussion, so make sure you check that out. That is out right now.
And don't worry, this podcast only won about 3 Razzies for that year, so we're still in good shape.
Yes.
And, of course, Kevin, something I brought to Hair Metal, I'm proud.
Yes, this was Kyle's idea.
A little F-U-C-K came to Hair Metal, Kevin.
For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge was 91's Van Halen album, and this is a favorite of yours. You brought it to my attention. And new member to the Fandom Podcast Network and officially my co-host, Mike Simmer, who's also a music teacher, very well knowledge in the history of hair metal. I'm glad to have him on the Fandom Podcast Network. The three of us discussed the impact that this album had. Sammy Hagar's biggest album, I believe, with Van Halen. And also we talked about the upcoming tour that Sammy Hagar is doing to a tribute tour for Eddie Van Halen with his little super group that he has there. A little bit of Chickenfoot and hopefully some special guests for that tour coming out next year.
And don't forget, we did follow the law. We did have a David Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar discussion on that.
We did. That was a really good discussion. Yes.
The Lethal Mullet, however, is just dropped his review of the new Apple Plus film that has hit theaters as well. The new Ridley Scott film, Napoleon. He's got some interesting takes on that. You definitely need to check that out. Not on Apple TV Plus yet, still in the theaters. Kevin, I'm just curious. Have you have any interest in this? Or are you going to wait?
Yes, I do. I do have interest, but I'm not seeing it in the theater. I know it's like over 3 hours or whatever it is, 3.5 hours. This is I'm going to probably watch half of it one night and half of it the other night. Kind of like I did with the Irishman when that hit Netflix. Remember that?
Yeah.
But I do really want to see this. I'm curious of Ridley Scott's take on Napoleon, and I'm looking forward to it. So, but that's why I'm waiting to listen to this review of Adams until I see the film.
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin, Blood of Kings.
Highlander's back on the Fandom Podcast Network. My co-host Lee and I we're taking a little sabbatical. Lee's been real busy basically, and we did get a Blood of Kings in right before the end of the year, and we have plans for another one in January. Really excited about this. One of the best things, the most iconic things about Highlander from the original movie and movies and the TV series is flashbacks, when we see our heroes and villains go back in time and do battle and have impact on things that we know about as history. So make sure you check it out, because we did our favorite Highlander movie and TV series flashbacks. It was a great discussion, and we had some help from the fans and included some of their picks.
Lots of bad wigs in some of those flashbacks.
This is true.
And, of course, coming up every year, we do a little Christmas time special with Couch Potato Theater. And this year is an all-time classic, Kevin.
Same time, same bat time, same bat channel.
No, same elf time, same elf channel.
Yes, exactly. That's my point. Yes, this time next week, guys, we are going live with Couch Potato Theater Elf. It is celebrating its 20th anniversary, and we're going to have some friends of ours drop in and drop out, and just kind of we're going to run it kind of loosey goosey and have fun. So make sure that you check us out, and if you're just watching, make sure you comment. Give us some of your thoughts on Elf. It has become a holiday classic quickly, and it's become a fan favorite. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies that I always make time for, and we'll go into those reasons why.
I always thought Buddy was a little weird when I was living in Alaska and he was my neighbor. It was a little strange.
Yeah, was he an awkward neighbor? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, just a little bit, but Also coming up, we're recording this on Sunday night, one of the all-time greatest Westerns, especially of modern Westerns, Kevin.
Yes, also celebrating its 30th anniversary because it came out in December of 1993. So we are celebrating 30th anniversary of Tombstone, my favorite Western of all time. And I have a few on the short list there that accompany it. Love this movie. Saw it when it first came out. I've seen it many, many times. And definitely best OK Corral movie ever, Chris. You're absolutely right on that. And we're going to be doing a podcast. Of course, it'll be out on video within next week, you think, Kyle?
Yeah, before the year's out, we'll have it out.
Yeah. So look forward to that. And my co-host Lee of Blooded Kings Highlander podcast, he's going to be with us on this because he is an actor, stuntman as well, and he knows Western Armory very well. So we're going to discuss that briefly.
There's only one important question, Kevin. Are you going to be my Huckleberry?
I'm always your Huckleberry, man. Come on.
That gets so creepy. Okay, we're going to move along now.
That was creepy. That was creepy. Yeah.
Hair Metal, not only did we have Van Halen out now, but you got something planned for the first of the year with Hair Metal, Kevin. Yeah, my co-host, Mike, he came up with a great idea, and I took the ball and ran with it, literally. He suggested that this podcast is going to be coming out in January next month. Kyle, can you put up the picture real quick? What we're going to be doing is we're going to be having we're going to be picking, we're going to pretend it's the year 1989, and we're going to be picking our super group hair metal band. So we're living in 1989, and we're pulling all these rock stars from other bands. They're going to put a super group together. We're going to have like a make-believe. We're going to tell people what our make-believe like tour or event is that we're going to be hosting it, because it's going to be a short-lived thing. And so, but we're going to be doing in fantasy football draft style. If you're not a sports ball person, basically there's going to be 4 of us picking each person at a time. Once someone is picked, they cannot be picked in another team. Kyle here is going to be our commissioner, making sure that the draft order goes well and making sure that no one is pulling any shenanigans. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We got 4 of us participating. We're going to pick 5 members, and then we're going to have a wild card. It's going to be a lot of fun. What we're going to do is we're going to pick a 1989 celebrity that was popular at that time to be part of our entourage. That is not a musician. So that is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, but I get all the supermodels and video vixens, so sorry. Now, hey. We're doing the picking, buddy. Yeah, but I'm the commissioner. This is true. You do have power. And finally, of course, we're starting a new year, which means it's time to roll over for Time Warp for the new year of 1984, Kevin. Yeah, dudes. For you guys that are watching or listening to this, 1984 is an iconic year for movies, even better than 83. So many good movies come out. Ghostbusters, anyone? Yeah. It is going to be really fun. And we've also made a decision too. We're going to be actually doing this monthly now. And we're going to be covering each month in each of the years. So in January, we're going to be covering what was happening in January of 1984 and so on. We're going to be covering other pop culture as well, of course. A lot of music, a lot of stuff that's happening in the news, trends, sports, stuff like that, in addition to the film. So make sure you check us out for that. But yeah, now, 84. Kevin, I'm looking at the art and I'm just noticing something. Isn't that the last time your Raiders have had Super Bowl glory? Yes, and I will discuss that in that podcast. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I saw it there. I couldn't let it slide. I'm sorry. So don't let it slide. It's going to be a topic. We're talking about it. So yeah, it's a iconic moment of fandom in my life. So I'm going to bring that up. Well, there is all kinds of great things out here on the Fan Podcast Network, but we got all kinds of great things to talk about here on Culture Clash, which means we've got to talk about some news and some other things. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Let's news.
You know, Kyle, we might have to do a special like anniversary edition of Ghostbusters. And I know someone that might be interested that possibly could be on that. Well, just saying.
yeah, I know a couple people who could be very interested in that. Before we get into the trailers that I put in the notes, Kevin, there was one more trailer that dropped yesterday that I want to talk about because it's very pertinent to us. Netflix dropped the trailer for Eddie Murphy's new Beverly Hills Cop film, Axel F, the fourth in the series. I'm not sure about it as far as when I heard that they were doing it, because I remember Beverly Hills Cop 3, which was not good. Let's be honest.
It was not good. Yep.
But I watched this trailer and I'm at least intrigued because we see the return of some familiar faces in Axel F.
Yeah, I am intrigued. I'm gonna watch it. I'm curious because it brings back the band, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how it goes. And it's what I did like about it is it looks like it's really action packed. Because if you remember, the first one was great, but it wasn't quite action packed. You know, it had its moments. The second one was really action packed. It's like full on Tony Scott. And I'm just going to say this now. I actually prefer 2 over 1. Just saying, both, but I love them both. So I'm kind of curious how this one's going to sit because, yeah, I watched a little bit of 3 because it was streaming on something. And I'm like, oh, God, this is bad. It does have a George Lucas cameo, though.
Yeah, that's true. As long as you remember to check that you don't have any bananas in your tailpipe.
It's true. Yes.
But let's talk about some trailers that do have everybody talking, Kevin. And first and foremost, the one that I didn't think we were going to see this soon. So I was a little surprised, but I'm pleasantly surprised. Furiosa's first trailer dropped, Kevin, and it's got people talking. I'll say that.
Yes. What are you saying? What are people saying, Kyle? What are people saying?
I saw this. I'm excited for a return to the visiting of this character, but I have to say, I understand it's early, but there was a lot of CG here, Kevin.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the way most of these movies are going, but I'm very curious about it. I'm Chris Hemsworth. Oh my God.
Well, really, Chris Hemsworth, and I'm a big Anna Taylor-Joy fan. I loved her in New Mutants. I've loved her in a lot of stuff she's done.
Just to clarify too, it's Anya. I have been I have been mispronouncing her name for quite a while. It's Anya. Yeah, dude, I'm kind of a little crushing on her, to be honest with you. I like her in almost everything I've seen. She's just good.
Yeah.
And you know, yes, there's a lot of CG in the trailer. There was some CG in Fury Road as well. Just putting that out there. But as long as it has good characters and good moments, and it's not too much of CG fest, and it's just like, you know, blue screen this and blue screen that, we'll see. But I have some issues with CG coming up in some trailers, so
well, I'm sure you do, because the next thing we've got is very CG heavy, but something I'm still very excited for: Godzilla Kong.
Real quick, before you go, I just want to mention Chris says he still needs to see Fury Road. I'm a bad nerd. Yeah. Make time to see it, Chris, because I think you'll be impressed with it. It's a good movie, and it's also really good in 3D.
Could this be where you might be having some CGI issues, Kevin?
Yes. God, dude, I am not feeling this trailer. I'm sorry. Especially after seeing something else that we're about to talk about. I felt like it was a huge step down. I doubt I'm going to see this film, to be honest with you.
I will see this film in the theater because it's the kind of movie you need to see it in the theater. But yeah, I think they might be pushing the envelope on these legendary Godzilla Kong movies with this trailer. There's a scene where Godzilla and Kong are running together step by step like they're Apollo and Rocky Creed and Rocky 3. And I'm just like,
except for the mini shorts.
A little bit too far. But it's big monsters on the big screen. You got to see it. I'm going to definitely check it out, but I'm curious to see what you're going to do with this. It obviously was pushed back because of the strike, but I'm very much looking forward.
Hold on, I like this. Chris is like, good to see Clyde getting a job again. Do you get that reference?
Yeah, right turn.
any which way but loose.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah, exactly. Up next, we had the third trailer drop for Dune 2, and Kevin, I got to admit, I was impressed with this trailer. I am looking more and more forward to this film.
Me too. I liked the first film. It was good in 3D as well. I'll probably be doing a rewatch of that before I see this. So it's got my interest. I'm glad that Dune remakes and redos are getting better than that original Dune film from back in the day, because I was not a fan.
I will say this. I really like the music in this trailer.
Yes, I would agree with you there. Definitely good.
So that is coming March 1. Excited for that. Kevin, The Boys season 3 or season 4 actually coming off from what everything I've read. This will start just a few weeks or even days possibly after the events of the Gen V series.
Question: when is this releasing? I couldn't get a date on this.
It's later this year. I don't have an exact date. I think it's like April, perhaps.
Okay.
But I'm excited. Things are coming to a head in the universe of The Boys, and it's going to be very entertaining.
I am going to finish Gen V and then go right into this, because I started the Gen V and I didn't finish it. Let me check. Chris says, yeah, I'm on the fence with the original Dune film. Yeah, I don't blame you. But Boys, yeah, the trailer looks good. I've been a Boys fan since day one. So
yeah,
it pushes the envelope, and I hope it does it again.
And we're going to talk about Gen V in a little bit too. So this movie, the trailer dropped. I really hadn't heard a lot about, but I watched the trailer, Kevin, and especially after a movie we're going to talk about and buy it, stream it, or and see it, I am very intrigued by this film.
Yeah, it's interesting because it feels almost like a horror film. You know, what if the U.S. were to go through a civil war in current day times? I also got a Purge feel when I was watching it too. And what was funny was when I was watching the trailer, and I have to bring this up, I was reading the comments, and apparently there's an uprising of California and Texas that get together to, kind of revolt against the current leadership. And the first comment was, I'm going to see this film because I'm curious to find out how Texas and Cali ended up on the same side.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, the website for The Ringer has a whole article about why that is.
And there was another comment saying, if this is a war movie that feels like a horror movie, then it might actually have some value. And it does kind of feel warlike. And Jesse Plemons is in it, along with his wife, Kirsten Dunst. Interesting. I'm sold, and I love this picture right here. If this picture has said 1,000 words, that there's a sniper's den at the top of the torch of the Lady Liberty, that says a lot.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by this. Alex Garland, who's director, who has done some very interesting films. If you look at his filmography on IMDb, including Annihilation and a couple other films. So yeah, I'm very intrigued by this as well. And unfortunately, Kevin, we have some sad news too now. Andre Bauer, who is one of my favorite actors. I first saw him in Glory, obviously Homicide, Life on the Streets, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So many great and just a phenomenal actor passed away at the age of 61 this week.
Yeah, Andre Bauer. So I just finished up my actually not a rewatch because I didn't finish it originally. But I got the entire series on Blu-ray, and I actually started watching it when I was in Australia with my wife, the entire series of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because it was on Netflix in Australia, but it wasn't here, so I ended up getting the Blu-ray. Andre Bauer, he is such a phenomenal actor, and who knew how funny he was? And he is hilarious as the captain of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, of course, but his extensive resume is wonderful, and gone too soon, if you ask me. This is a sad loss.
Age 61, died of lung cancer.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's a sad loss. He was a phenomenal actor. He always had that presence on screen that was just amazing. He will be missed. Kevin, one other piece of news that we have, and I'm going to let you kind of take this because my voice is starting to crack a little bit, but we got an update on the Orville, and I'm not sure it's a good one.
Yeah, so I happen to be listening to the Inside of Me podcast with Michael Rosenbaum, of course, Lex Luthor from Smallville, and he has a very successful podcast, and he gets some great guests. And he had Adrian Padalecki, of course, who is in, plays the second in command in Orville. And of course, we know her, of course, from her earlier work in Friday Night Lights. And she was also in one of the G.I. Joe films. Very talented actress. And Orville is one of my favorite shows, new shows. And she was interviewed about her work on this. And basically he asked her, so what's up with the Orville? She's like, I think it's done. I'm paraphrasing here. I'll go ahead. I don't know if he has this. The Orville is done, is what this article says. It looks like the ship has been decommissioned. Actress Adrian Padalecki, who plays Commander Kelly Grayson on the series, recently appeared on Michael's Inside of You podcast when he mentioned that she's currently on a role in the Orville, to which she responded, quote, no longer doing that. Then asked if the show is actually canceled. She says, I don't know truly to the answer to that. I think there's the talk that it could possibly something with certain people. She also explained that the Orville shot a total of just 33 episodes over 6 years, which worked out to 5.5 episodes per year. COVID was a huge reason to that. And the show is also very extensive. She talked about how it was kind of tough to work on the show as well at times, just because the budget for the on-sets, behind the scenes stuff wasn't there, but the budget for the sets itself was there. Like catering wasn't what people were used to, but nothing's confirmed because now it is in Disney's hands, because now Disney owns, Fox Studios and all that kind of stuff. So my personal feeling thinks that, yes, the show's probably canceled, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe somehow it came back in a movie or something like that, Kyle. But at least we got 3 seasons with at least 10 episodes apiece. And the way that they ended the 3rd season is a good send-off. There was no cliffhanger. And I think that was done on purpose, because I know the show is very expensive to produce, but I am going to miss it.
I thought one of the interesting things she talked about was how a lot of the stars were suffering financially because they were on these on-hold deals. So they couldn't go work other jobs while they were still part of the Orville. She talked about Jay Lee living off of ramen noodles for a while because he couldn't work other jobs. So it gives you a little bit of background into the inner workings of Hollywood at the time.
Yeah. Scott Grimes, though, did jump onto the TED show, the prequel show, based on Seth MacFarlane's work. So he at least got some work there. If you watch that, I have not seen that, or I think it's coming out in January, if I remember correctly. But yeah, this is sad news. Hopefully it will be given some life again, a la Firefly. At least it got more episodes than Firefly, so we'll see. And yeah, Chris, you're right. The strike didn't help either. So it hasn't been officially canceled, but I think it is.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, but that's going to wrap up our news portion. But you know what? We're here to do a little bit of pop culture catch up, which means it's time to talk because we've seen a few things. So, ladies and gentlemen,
buy it, stream it, or unsee it.
And Kevin, we have seen a few things, and yes,
we have.
Is always hope. So, fingers crossed. I really do think we will see the Orville back in some kind of movie format on Hulu or some kind of Disney property eventually. I think it's got too much of a following.
Good point. Seth MacFarlane has come back before. Yes, he has. he's got a lot of power too. So,
yeah. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about, Kevin, is it is Christmas time. We need to talk a little bit of Christmassy things.
Yes.
And I have an important question for you, sir.
Yes.
Do you celebrate Life Day?
Of course I do. Yeah, November 17th every year, man.
Yeah. So, Kevin celebrates Life Day. It is buy it, stream it, or unsee it. Kevin, you want to hit the button?
Hit the button. Oh yeah, hold on. That's right.
We are going to be talking deep dive into several things here in this edition of Buy It, Stream It, or Unsee It. But Kevin, you found a documentary that you have been recommending to us. I did check it out, and it is time appropriate because it is dealing with the wonderfulness that is the Star Wars Holiday Special.
The Star Wars Holiday Special. I have a Blu-ray copy of it here in my hand. You can also buy it digitally on iTunes. It was $10. I've been listening to Rebel Force Radio for years, and they had the directors and the producers on this podcast on their podcast recently, and the Blu-ray is officially on sale. It's also a top seller right now. Apparently, the numbers for this Blu-ray sale, at least on Amazon and other firms, has been just blowing up. It is a huge hit. As we all know, this is based on the infamous and famous holiday special that never got an official release, but it did unofficially in bootlegs. And this is a really wonderful documentary I recommend that you see, because they get some really great interviews here. And the producers of this are Kyle Newman, who directed Fanboys, great homage to Star Wars there, as well as a few other films. And also Adam F. Goldberg, the creator of the Goldbergs, produced this. And there's some wonderful interviews in here, including Kevin Smith, Gilbert Gottfried before he passed away, Weird Al Yankovic, Donny Osmond, Seth Green. And what's really important about this film, Kyle, is that it really goes back into taking you back in time of what was popular in pop culture, especially on television during the 70s, and that was variety shows. And when they were trying to basically keep the interest of Star Wars alive and to help to sell upcoming toys that were coming out, they decided to put some holiday special together, and they did a really good job with these interviews, placing the timeline, showing the cultural impact of Star Wars at the time, and showing all great clips of these variety shows that had some Star Wars skits in them, including the infamous and famous Donnie and Marie one, also Bob Hope. Excellently done, especially when they start putting all the pieces together of when this was going to be put together, and then the people that were involved slowly started to fall away from it, and the creatives behind it weren't the original creatives, and it just got interesting. And then they talk about the myth of it being disappearing for a while and then slowly showing up on questionable shelves in conventions in the bootleg format, and several different versions of it too, depending on where it was taped and how it was originally put out there. Kyle, you got this digitally, correct? And what did you think of it?
I really enjoyed it. It was a great blast to the past of that time era of television and how crazy ass it was. I, however, am highly disappointed with one thing in this, Kevin.
What's that?
They did not mention the greatest variety show appearance of Star Wars that was ever done, when they were on the Muppet Show.
I felt like there was a picture or a video where they did show that. I do remember that, of course, but that was after right before around Empire Strikes Back time. That was not before like Star Wars time. So we had to wait, because remember, Luke Skywalker was in his Empire Strikes Back outfit. So it took a little while for him to get to the Muppets.
Still, this is very interesting. I will say it's a must-watch for any Star Wars fan.
Definitely.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of how Wild West it really was for marketing.
Yeah, the history of Star Wars is in this movie. It really is. They set it up for this. And if you're a Star Wars fan, you really need to know why this movie came out and, why it didn't work. But can you imagine if it did work, Kyle, if it was done properly?
Oh, yeah, exactly. It would to be a huge hit. Even now, we'd probably have more of them. But wait. It's not my sinuses, but I sense a disturbance in the Force. I feel like a million pieces of plastic have been sacrificed recently. Kevin, you have something you need to tell me about?
Oh, we're going there. Okay, I thought you were sticking with this.
No, I mean, it does feel timely because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to tell you right now, Kevin Reitzel knows all, including what is truly the hottest toy for your kids for Christmas this year.
Yes, there's a toy that you do need to get. We pride ourselves in our time warps and stuff like that, talking about all the popular toys from the 80s or the years that we're talking about. And there's only one toy that you guys need to get this year. And you need to get this guy right here, Mr. Velkin Tazeri. Right here. Check this out. Look at that. Oh, yes. Velkin Tazeri. Guys, so a little quick backstory on this. I used to work for Decipher. They made the Star Wars, Star Trek, and Lord of the Rings card game. And I used to be a playtester for Decipher before I got hired in 1999. And yes, you're right, Chris. This is a segue alert. So one of the things about being a playtester back in the day was that there was the Jabba's Palace playset that I was playtesting for Decipher back in the mid to late 90s. And a lot of the aliens, you may not know this, current Star Wars fans, but a lot of the aliens didn't have names back in that time. There were some of the more famous ones that did, of course. So Decipher, who had the license for the card game, was given permission to come up with names. They just had to be approved by Lucasfilm, and they were submitted and then approved. Well, a lot of the names were people that worked for Decipher, and playtesters like myself were turned into anagrams. You take the name, you switch it around, and then thus names are made up. And I have a picture of the actual card. And if you look at that and the picture up there, Velkin Tazeri is actually my name. Kevin Reitzel, just minus one I. And there you go. That is, and that was made canon prior to Disney buying the Star Wars license. And then even after they provided it, if you open up this wonderful little book here called Star Wars, Absolutely Everything You Need to Know, there is a mention of the top 5 Sarlacc dinners right there. And that is, one of them is Velkin Tazeri. And if you don't remember Velkin Tazeri, he was one of the skiff guards. And he also lost his blaster to Luke Skywalker when he used the Force to grab Velkin's blaster to try to shoot Jabba before Luke got down into the Rancor pit. But apparently there was a poll for these action figures, I guess it's the vintage version action figures. They were trying to get all of the Denizen guards made into action figures, and there's a few that didn't. And this is actually part of a 3 or 4 pack that came out by Hasbro Pulse this last summer. It was at Comic-Con announced. So if you want to recreate the famous Sarlacc pit scene, because they do have the skiff guards or the skiffs themselves, and also the Jabba's Palace sail barge, he is one of them, Velkin Tazeri. My namesake is now an action figure toy, Kyle. How cool is that?
And yeah, I'm amazed you have not changed all of your social media handles.
My next thing that I have to do, Kyle, is now I need to do a costume of this guy. How cool would that be?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. He's an action figure officially, ladies and gentlemen. I'll never live this down.
Being a Star Wars fan, it's just one of those things that it's a little, he's just a stupid like guard, but the fact that there's a name with my name out there officially canon in Star Wars means the world to me, and I'm really excited about that.
Yes, and you should be. But
be proud of me, Kyle. Come on. This is cool.
I am trying to be as proud as I can at this moment in time with my head full of ectoplasm. But I'm ready to move on to something that I have been very anxious to talk about with you, Mr. Wright. So something I have been very excited for a very long time. A movie experience like none other, Godzilla Minus One. Kevin can attest, I have been excited for this movie for months. I am the first Toho movie since 2016's amazing Shin Godzilla. And not only did it live up to the hype, it surpassed the hype in every way. It was the #1 movie in America the weekend it came out. I saw this on IMAX. It's phenomenal. Kevin, you went to see this, and I think this movie well surpassed your expectations and genuinely surprised you.
Yeah, I actually saw it with a double feature with Silent Night, which I saw first, and then I went to see Godzilla Minus One, and I was kind of curious about it. I wasn't excited about it. The trailers were okay, and I walked away from this movie really impressed. It exceeded my expectations, and I even got my wife to see it. She went and saw it, and she liked it too. Which that tells you a lot right there. I was really surprised with this. I love the effects. I love the time that it took place in, just post World War II. There's a little bit of time jump, but it takes place mostly in that era. And the fact that Godzilla is not a cute, cuddly, I'm going to help humans monster, scare the crap out of you. But the biggest thing that really got me, Kyle, that sold it was the music.
Yep, pulling the original score and putting it in this film was a touch of genius. And also just, this movie made you care about the human characters, which is something you can't say about a Godzilla normally. This movie really genuinely made you care about the human characters and the story that was being told. And Godzilla just being this force of destructive nature was absolutely phenomenal and best use of his atomic breath ever.
Japanese made, Japanese produced and directed, Japanese language. It felt like a genuine Godzilla film. And by the way, I'm looking up on IMDb to see what they have for how much money this movie's made. It was supposed to just be like for a week, right, Kyle? Then
Yeah.
the popularity of this movie, they decided to put it in wide release. It's still out there. The budget was about $15 million, and now it's almost $60 million worldwide. It's made almost $30 million in the States right now.
Yeah, it has had its run extended greatly by theaters. So
yes, yeah,
you have not gone to go see this film. This is just one of the best films of the year, period.
Yeah, it is. I definitely, I really, really enjoyed this. Well done.
Yeah. And continuing our catch up, Doctor Who is back, but it is the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. And of course, if you listen to our Type 40 podcast, Dan Hadley and his TARDIS crew have done a phenomenal, above human job of covering everything Type 40. But I want to talk about the 3 specials that came out on Disney Plus that introduced the 14th Doctor, who looks oddly like the 10th Doctor, who was played by the same actor, David Tennant. And it also brought back our character favorite, Donna Noble, played by the lovely Catherine Tate. There were 3 specials. There was the Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, and the Giggle. Star Beast was a lot of fun and brought back a lot of that initial David Tennant Doctor Who energy and fun to it. Wild Blue Yonder was probably my least favorite, but I can see why people would have liked it. And in the third one, the Giggle, which also stars as Neil Patrick Harris as the villain in this, called the Toy Maker. It was very good. But the bigger thing to come out of that third special, and excuse me because I am starting to lose my voice a little bit. Spoiler alert again. We had our next regeneration into the next Doctor, played by Shuji Nagawa. However, things went a little different this time. It wasn't a normal regeneration. It is what they called a bi-regeneration, where the new Doctor split out from the old Doctor, leaving David Tennant as the Doctor as well. He is staying on Earth with Donna, trying to kind of just find himself again, while taking over in the Doctor Who show is Shuji Nagawa playing the 15th Doctor. Now, the rumors are that Disney Plus wants to do some specials with David Tennant and Catherine Tate as their characters. It's an interesting direction for Doctor Who. It's a new direction. I'm excited, Kevin.
You know, I haven't watched these yet, but I'm intrigued by them, and I love that Donna's back. She was one of my favorite. Okay, just so you know, I'm kind of a casual Doctor Who. I didn't watch the Capaldi's, and but I did watch a good chunk of the new Who. I guess is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Okay.
New Who.
And the David Tennant and the sorry, help me out here.
Matt Smith,
and the first guy that I like. What's his name?
Eccleston,
yeah. I love those, and I did enjoy that. That was a lot of fun, and I think Disney knows the power of the Who, especially when you bring back fan favorite actors that played them.
Yeah, these were very enjoyable. They're on Disney Plus, which is the worldwide distributor for Doctor Who, except for in the UK where everything's on the BBC. But definitely check these out. They're a lot of fun. It's a good jumping on point for Doctor Who, and I'm very curious because they have one more special this Christmas, which is the first full episode with the new 15th Doctor, Shuji Nagawa. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do there. But next, Kevin, is a movie I'm going to give my voice a rest because I want you to talk about this because you suggested I watch this movie.
Yes, and to quote Kyle, I want that 2.5 hours back. So I'll let Kyle give his opinion on it, but I actually really enjoyed this film. It's based, of course, on the book itself. Hit Netflix on December 8th, and that is Leave the World Behind, starring Julia Roberts, Mahershala Ali, Ethan Hawke, Mahala, and also Kevin Bacon is in it as well. And I remember hearing about it, and then my wife sent me a text saying you need to see this film because it proves that you were right. I'm like, what? She saw it before me. And so I'm watching this film, and basically it is what happens when Well, I guess you could say full anarchy in the United States happens, but you don't know that because these people are on a vacation outside of New York, and then stuff starts to happen. Wi-Fi goes out, weird animals start showing up, and it becomes oh my God, what's happening to our world? What's going on? And they start kind of talking about signs of things that was happening in social media as well as the political climate. And I don't, Kyle, should we get spoilery on this, or are we doing...
Definitely. I'm spoiler alert. If you're going to watch this, tune out for a few minutes. We're going to talk about the ending of this film because that's the important part.
So basically, Julie and her family basically rent this house, and they're it's not like the tightest family, but they're out there, and then all of a sudden the owners of the house come wanting to stay with them, and that's Mahershala Ali and his daughter, because stuff starts to happen in New York. Things start to turn south bad. And basically what happens is Earth is attacked by kind of like, think of like Red Dawn, but how they would do it now. There's like sonic bombs and stuff that hurts technology, and conventional warfare that happens. And so, they start to realize this, and there's a very haunting scene at the end where you see Manhattan basically under siege, and they're across the river at their house. And there's this little girl who's the daughter who is wanting to watch the final episode of Friends, and she can't because her iPad doesn't work anymore, and she just is fully invested in the people of Friends. And she comes across this house at the end, Kyle, that as you watched was ready for a doomsday scenario. They had the bunker. They had everything ready downstairs, but no one was there because they probably got caught in the city and they're probably dead. And she finds this bunker, and she finds these DVDs, only DVDs, and a DVD player. And she finds the set of Friends, the full seasons, and she puts in the last episode and starts to watch it, thus ending the film. As we know that New York is going up in fire. So basically, it's a very haunting what if type of situation. Felt very realistic, as if someone were to try to take over the United States, how they would do it, how they would create anarchy. Very scary situation here. Kind of ties in a little bit to the trailer that we saw earlier with the Civil War thing, but at it from a different perspective. What happens if Teslas have a mind of their own? Self-driving cars, other things. What happens when you see animals doing weird things because they can sense danger before you? Kyle, you weren't really impressed with this film. You didn't like it, right?
It's a very slow film. It's a depressing film. And the characters are not characters you want to like.
Yeah, you said they weren't likable, and I would agree with you that. Yeah.
However, I will say this. It is poignant to the world today. I think it's actually something you should at least watch one time. But Kevin, I'm going to argue you were right, and you weren't 100% right, because the problem is that yes, she found the bunker that was protected, but 99% of us out there don't have a bunker that's going to be shielded from an EMP pulse, and all of our electronics are going to be completely fried. So whether you have streaming or a DVD player, your electronics is going to be shot, and we're all going to be in the same boat together.
Hey, hold on. That bunker looked pretty badass. They were ready for something. But what my wife was referring to as my massive collection of physical media, like it's kind of taken over my life a little bit. And I said, well, what happens when streaming goes down? What happens if there's a streaming wars and you can't, or your internet goes down? Well, my Blu-rays and DVDs are still going to work. But what was funny was when I was watching that final scene, all of those movies collections, by the way, were only DVDs, not Blu-rays. Yeah. And that was a DVD player that she played, not a Blu-ray, because a lot of the Blu-rays are hooked up to the internet nowadays, because you have to update them or whatever. Because some of the Blu-ray players, of course, hold apps, so you have to have them hooked up to the Wi-Fi. And all those DVDs look like they went to a town and went to all the thrift stores and grabbed all the DVDs, because those are movies that you would find at secondhand shops, Goodwill shops, thrift stores, and stuff like that. But yes, us physical media nerds, we were like, yeah, we're right. And that's what my wife was
Mhm,
referring to.
yeah. Well, you brought up this movie, but I want to bring up another movie that gave me a little bit more joy, Kevin. The Boy and the Heron, the latest film and probably final film from the wonderful Hayao Miyazaki. He is retiring. This is a man who's considered maybe even a better animator than Walt Disney, and his films are phenomenal. I went and saw this film. This visually is an absolutely stunning film. But I'm going to be honest with you, it is one of his slower films. Visually, it's beautiful. If you know about the history of how Hayao Miyazaki grew up and things that he went through, you're going to appreciate this film. But if you're not familiar with that, you're going to find this film a little slow and a little boring. But at least you have these amazing visuals to keep you going with it. But I would say this is probably towards the lower half of his films just because of how slow it is. But if you're a fan of his, you need to see this in the theater. This is the kind of movie that you need to go see in the theater to see this absolutely beautiful hand-drawn animation on the big screen while you still can.
His movies have always obviously looked great, but they've obviously had good story and good human connections in this with his characters.
Yeah, and this one continues that trend. I just think it's one of the more slower stories he's told. So
Gotcha.
I can see where people might find this a little bit. It could probably have been about 20 minutes shorter. It was just over 2 hours.
Okay.
So, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend seeing it. So, next up, I want to jump back onto Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. Now, Kevin, are you watching this?
I have not. I started watching the first episode, and then I realized I didn't have time, so I'm just going to do it. But I have not yet, Kyle.
This has been a great addition to the MonsterVerse that Legendary has created. They're building the world, creating some significant connective tissue, and both Kurt Russell and his son Wyatt are phenomenal in this show. And it's running, I think, 10 episodes. Episode 6 just came out. And what's great about it is episode 6, it gives us the big guy. Godzilla shows up in episode 6, and it looks like the rest of the series, it's going to be a wild ride. I highly recommend this series. Apple TV Plus. They might not make the outstanding super hyper buzz shows that we talk about, but every show they've done that I've watched has been absolutely solid and worth my time. And I would definitely recommend seeing this, Kevin.
When I started watching the first episode, there's a tie-in to Kong Skull Island, wasn't there?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Big one.
Yeah. The production looks pretty good. Would you say that is one of the things about it you like?
Oh, across the board, everything. Story, acting, characters. This is one of the best things TV-wise I've seen this year.
Gotcha.
So, I also want to talk about something that, Kevin, you saw a while ago that I finally got a chance to see. And it's a movie
I saw it in the theater.
Yeah. This is one of those movies that I've tried multiple times to see, and something always comes up when I try to sit down and watch it. But Gran Turismo, based off the video game for Sony PlayStation, and the contest they ran about 10 years ago where you could win a chance to become a real race car driver, and it's based off that true story. Kevin, this movie was phenomenal. This movie was a ton of fun and way better than it had any right to be.
I completely agree with you. It is one of the most underrated films of the year. It was so much fun. It had heart too, good family drama. It wasn't just about the race cars, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, David Harbour was great in it, and I loved how they incorporated the video game elements into it without nailing you over the head with them.
Yes. And also, too, just so you guys know a little trivia, this is based on a real guy who won this contest and became a real race car driver and participated in over 200 races. And he actually was the stunt driver for the actor that was playing him in the movie.
Yeah. No, this was so good. I'll tell anybody, this is a must check out. It's going to surprise you. You're going to love it. Just trust us. We know what we're talking about here on Culture Clash. Lastly, wrapping things up as far as reviews, Kevin, Gen V. I wasn't real sure about this show. I'm like, oh, here we go with the spinoffs for the boys. This show was freaking phenomenal. Of course, it has all the craziness that the boys you would expect from anything related to the boys, but I love the younger cast. They're outstanding. The storyline is really good. I thoroughly enjoyed Gen V, Kevin.
My wife did too. I think she finished it. I watched the first episode. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna wait a little bit closer to the boys premiering because I want to kind of because it apparently it goes right up until where it ends off to where the boys begin the new season. So I want to kind of do the whole like Gen V boys thing.
Yeah, no,
Marathon.
I think
So,
it's a good idea. If you haven't watched yet,
Yeah.
hold off until we get a little closer to season 4 of The Boys. But this show is outstanding and worth your time. Go see it. It's really well done.
Yep.
But Kevin, we do need to talk about some things that haven't come out yet this year. There's still a few very interesting things on the menu. So let's talk about some things that are coming. Okay, Kevin, the first one we're going to talk about, Aquaman 2, next Friday, Lost Kingdom. Are we excited? Are we interested? Are we trepidatious? What are we on this? Because this is an interesting film as far as just where it's falling and how things, the world around it.
DC is a mess. James Gunn is trying to fix that. Until he does, we'll wait and see. But I like Jason Momoa, and I do plan on seeing this just because it's Jason Momoa. I like him as Aquaman. Kind of curious to see, where this is going to go and what's it going to do. It's probably going to be a one and done for me, unless it completely surprises me. But I do want to see it in the movie theater.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a movie theater film. The 3D, I'm actually going to try to see it in IMAX 3D because they're raving about the 3D on it. It's Momoa as Aquaman. We know that's going to be fun. We know there's going to be fun moments in it. There's going to be some great lines. I'm going in as it's going to be what it's going to be. It's probably his last run as Aquaman, so we might as well enjoy it. It is what it is. I'm not going in with any expectations other than, hey, it's a superhero movie. Let's see what they do with it.
Yeah.
So, but something else I'm very happy is back. And in fact, the first 3 episodes are available on Amazon as we speak. Reacher's back, Kevin. Finally, we've been waiting for this.
I just finished marathoning the first 3 episodes, and boy, is this show good, man. Alan Richardson, is that what his name is? Richardson?
Richmond.
I think so. Richardson. Anyway, he is wonderful as Jack Reacher, and his co-stars are great. And I love where this story's going because it takes a little step back in time when he had his investigation group in the military happening and doing things, and former members of his group are being killed, and he and his surviving members are being targeted. And I absolutely love this series. My dad's really excited, and I'll tell you right now, he's in the other room. He's starting to watch it right now.
You know, Kevin, I really don't care who Sarah Connor is, by the way.
I was going to ask you about that. You got to watch to know. We don't want to spoil it right now.
Yeah, no, we're not going to spoil this show for you. It is phenomenal. I love the cast. I love the fact that you're kind of getting into a little bit more of Reacher's backstory. He puts every American male to shame, Kevin, when he goes shirtless, though. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, he does. And by the way, speaking of this, Kyle, speaking of earlier, the Michael Rosenbaum, Inside of
You? No, Inside of You.
Yeah, Inside of You. Sorry. So Alan was on the show last time talking about the first season of Reacher, and he was very forthcoming about the issues he's had dealing with bipolar. And he came back and talked and did a wonderful interview, being completely open about that. And also about the challenges that this show is putting on his body and how he has to regulate his weight and how he talks about that. And he is very, very, very forthcoming about, just his mental, talking about his struggles with mental issues and stuff like that. And he goes more into it, but I love how supportive he is of people that are willing to talk about it. He's willing to talk about it with other people. And Michael was great with him. And you could tell that it was really wonderful. And Alan says that whenever fans come up to him, they talk about that particular podcast a lot because of how Alan was open about everything, and just helping people that need help when it comes to having disorders like that. And I highly recommend listening to that podcast. It was really, really good.
Yeah. I just want to recommend that podcast because not only with that episode, but Rosenbaum does a very good job of people feeling comfortable with him and letting them tell these stories. And he does a phenomenal with it. There was an episode he had with Stephen Amell where literally Amell had a panic attack in the middle of the show and they had to stop the show. And Amell came back like a week later for another episode and it talked all about it. And he really gets these interviews to open up and really talk about a lot of things that they wouldn't talk about normally. And it's an outstanding podcast. Check it out.
Yeah, mental illness was one of the things that he talked about, and how he and his wife have been working it out. And he's very, very proud to talk about with anyone that needs help. It's great.
Yep.
And by the way, bye, Chris. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you.
Up next, Kevin, something I'm very, very intrigued by. Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire.
Yeah, so this is Zack Snyder's kind of stab at a possible Star Wars movie that didn't happen.
Well,
right?
The rumor is that he wrote this as a Star Wars movie. Lucasfilm saw it and rejected it.
Okay, gotcha. Well, visually it looks fantastic. I've seen the trailer; it looks awesome. And as of this date of this recording, December 15th, 2023, it is in a limited theatrical release because it's releasing next week, December 22nd. But it's premiering on Thursday night, the 21st, at like 7 o'clock Pacific time. 10 o'clock Eastern, of course. So make sure if you want to, early peek at it, check it out. But what's interesting, he's actually in Hollywood right now as we're recording this. He's going to be introducing the film to a sold out crowd at one of the theaters down there for I think the 6 or 7 o'clock showing tonight. And then he's going to come back for the 10:30 showing. And I was looking at tickets down there and they're selling out. So people are interested in seeing this, because they're showing it in full 70 millimeter IMAX at one of the theaters, because he shot it for that style, which makes me kind of bummed because I can't get down there right now and we don't have an IMAX theater around here. I would love to have seen this in IMAX.
Yeah, I would have too. I'm excited for this. I'm very intrigued by this. Say what you will about Zack Snyder. The man always delivers visually. Let's see what he does storyline here, but I'm excited to see what he does with this. And
the costumes and makeup look really good in this, dude.
They really do. I like the cast, so let's see what's going to happen here. Next up, Kevin, Disney's Percy Jackson's and the Olympians, and this show is already getting a lot of positive buzz. People are really liking what they've seen of it as far as like early press releases and things like that. Were you a fan of the Percy Jackson films?
Yeah, I did. I remember going with my daughter Camille to see one of them anyway. I did. I enjoyed them. I think I liked the first one better than the second one, but I did.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I wasn't familiar with the books and stuff. I knew they were based on books, but I liked the visuals. I liked the characters. It was neat. So I'm curious in the series.
Yeah, this show is getting a lot of positive buzz. It's coming up on Disney Plus. I'm definitely going to be checking it out. And lastly, Kevin, we got to get a little Marvel in there. What If Season 2 is going to hit over the holidays as well? I'm interested in this. I enjoyed Season 1 of What If for what it was. I'm curious to see the stories they're going to have for this and what they're going to do. And just sit back and watch some Marvel that's really, you can just watch it and go for the ride.
Yeah. They're dropping it all at once, right?
I think if they're breaking it up, it's going to come out over like a 4-day span.
Okay, all right. I'll definitely check it out because I'm kind of curious. Some of the other ones were kind of hit or miss with me, but it is Marvel, and I'm a little curious about it. I'm not excited like I would probably have been at another time in our lives because Marvel's been kind of struggling lately, but I did enjoy the Marvels a lot, so I am curious to see what the What If was. So, but there was there's a few good episodes of that season 1.
Yeah, there was. Kevin, is there anything else coming out this year that before the year is out that you're got on your list to check out?
There's the Mark Wahlberg Family Plan movie that just dropped.
Came out today.
It came out today, where he plays a former assassin. His family find out when he gets hunted and stuff, which is not an original story, but it sounds like a fun movie. So I'm curious about that. I did watch the the Christmas movie. I think it came out on Netflix called Family Switch Up or something. It's basically the Freaky Friday with Jennifer Garner and her family, where the kids take over the parents and the parents take over the kids. And it's just basically a new version of Freaky Friday. And I found it fun. It was very cool. Ed Helms, I think it was Ed Helms. So Ed Helms that played the father, I think, if I remember correctly. But Jennifer Garner was great, and it was funny and had its moments.
Well, you can never go wrong with Ed Helms either, so I'll have to check that out. But Mr. Reitzel, if you would, my voice is really starting to go on me. Would you care to do a little bit of close us out for this episode?
You got it, brother. Okay, guys. So first of all, this has been Culture Clash 141. And we've been doing a little pop culture catch up here. And it's always an interesting time, Kyle, during this part of the year, because we get the holiday stuff coming in. I've already started my holiday Christmas movie watch. I've been watching some stuff I haven't seen. A lot of it might be kind of in the, Hallmarky era as well.
Lisa Charbet in your future?
Yes, definitely. I want to watch the Christmas at Castle Hart, which I've never seen. I got to watch that as well. But I've been watching, I had to watch Scrooged. I watched that, and I also want to watch Family Man with Nick Cage. Haven't seen that in a while. So yeah, it's that time of the year. Are you going to watch a Christmas movie at all? This
week I'll really dive into my Christmas movies. I think there'll be a little Love Actually. There'll be Scrooge. There'll be It's a Wonderful Life. There'll be Elf, Kevin.
Yes. By the way, you just said Love Actually. I watched that last night, and I had to watch it because of my recent trip to England with my wife, and it was nice to see some of the stuff that was there. By the way, real quick, so if you think about all the Christmas films that either are mentioned in Christmas that Alan Rickman has been in, of course, he's in Love Actually. He is in Die Hard. He was also in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, where he said that he would cancel Christmas. Yeah. So if you think about it, and if you know his role in Love Actually, he's been a villain in 3 Christmas movies.
He's so good at it.
Anyway, yes, as Kyle was alluding to, next week, of course, please join us for Elf Couch Potato Theater Live. We're really, really excited for that. Hey, guys, Facebook user, I don't know who you are, if you can just say your name, because when you're in Facebook, it doesn't pop up on the YouTube there. But I'm going to hopefully see who you are, because I like to give you some props here. But make sure you join us next week at this time for Elf. We're really excited about that. It is a fun family film, and we're going to get into that. So, Kyle, you excited for Elf? You're going to rewatch it soon?
Santa!
Save your voice.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta have it much sooner than Elf. So
this is the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel. If you are listening to this, make sure you check us out and subscribe. Please share too. Give us some likes, do some comments, even after we stop the live. We'd appreciate that. Make sure you check us out and all of our wonderful shows that are dropping on this. Kyle, where can we find you on the Fandom Podcast Network?
You can find me on X, aka Twitter, at Removing Ectoplasm. You can find me on that at AKyleW. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom. And of course, you can find me all over the Fandom Podcast Network Facebook group as well.
Awesome. My name is Kevin Reitzel. You can find me on Twitter, which is now X, Instagram, and Threads at Spartan_Phoenix. And of course, you can, if you want to, email us, you can do that as well at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. Our master feed for all of our audio podcasts, our fpnet.podbean.com. And like I said, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We could use some more love there. We appreciate that. And Fandom Podcast Network is also on Twitter/X and Instagram as well. Kyle, I hope your voice feels better. Take care of it. Get some bed rest. Appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And thank you guys for joining in the chat. We very much appreciate it. We will see you next week for Elf live on the Fandom Podcast Network. And on behalf of my co-host, Kyle, first of all, happy holidays. We'll talk more about that next week. We'll see you guys next time. Feel better, Kyle.
Yep. And as always, respect each other and enjoy your fandom. Culture Clash. We are out because we got to go wrap Christmas presents.